This report brought to you by the Richmond Club, where investors and high-growth companies meet.
Thanks, Marcello. Our next speaker is the President and CEO of Northern Superior Resources. Please welcome Dr. Tom Morris.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction, and what an interesting lunch. Some great speeches and talks, and it was wonderful to hear. I want to thank Richmond Club for the opportunity to be here today to present to you Northern Superior Resources. Who are we? Well, we're a junior exploration company, and we do explore for gold, and we explore for gold in the provinces of Ontario and Quebec. We had a very robust and very aggressive plan, if you will, starting in the fall of 2016. And to be quite honest with you, I pulled the plug on it in June simply because of the markets, as we all know, are just terrible. And also because, quite frankly, I had to focus on getting a strategic partner to move two of our key assets forward. It was quite fortuitous, actually, that I got a phone call out of the blue from Richmond Club just 2 weeks ago saying, geez, you know, we've looked at your company, we really think that there's a lot of value, and we would like you to get up in front of our group and speak. You know, a little ahead of the curve here, but I think the timing is just right, and what I hope to accomplish today is at least grab your attention and get you looking at this story over the next several weeks, because I think you're going to see some exciting things happen for this company going forward. I don't think, in fact, I know. All right, so why should you invest in Northern Superior Resources? Well, largely for three reasons. People. The people that are running this company are engaged, they're vested, they're experienced, and all have successful track records within the junior exploration space. Projects. We are a project generator, but the two that I'm stuck on right now are world-class opportunities. And we need to move these forward, and I do need a strategic investor or a strategic group to help move these properties forward. And then a plan to drive value. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on talking about this forward today. We'll take a look at this at the end of the presentation. And again, this is where I'm encouraging you to keep an eye on the story over the next several weeks. So the people. All these bios are on our website. I encourage you to go there if you want more information about these people specifically. But quite frankly, Francois Perron has been involved in the financial industry, won awards when he was with Desjardins. He's also been involved running junior exploration companies, taking juniors from early stage exploration plays right to head frame. Andrew Farncombe, who's based in Toronto here, runs his own fund, is purely a financial guy and is well connected both here, Montreal, Vancouver, and in the States. Andrew I've known since his days in Paradigm, which was quite a few years ago. John Kiernan is actually a mining engineer and joined the company because of our Croteau property, which I'll talk to you about momentarily. But John was also in the financial industry for quite some time, and he's a highly sought-after mine engineer. So I'm very lucky to have this individual. He's based out of Vancouver. Art Murdy, again, is a geologist by training. He worked with the Ontario Geological Survey for many years, was also out in the private sector before becoming business manager for Bradley Brothers, who were subsequently taken over by Major Drilling. So Art is well connected in the industry and heavily involved and very close to Sudbury, where we're based out of. Dave Beilhartz represents Eric Sprott on our board of directors, and Dave is a very, very good geologist. I've known Dave for many years. He's based out of Sudbury. It's great for him just to walk into our office from time to time to kick geology around. Everything Dave seems to touch turns to gold, literally. So Côté Lake, for example, the projects in Timmins that Lakeshore ran. So Dave is very excited about our TPK project, and as is Eric Sprott and company as well. Myself, I've been in this business for over 40 years. I love exploration. It's what I do and do best. I've been involved with the Geological Survey of Canada, the Ontario Geological Survey, and I've been in the private sector since 2002. I was talked out of my nice government job to actually explore for diamonds under the predecessor of Northern Superiors called Superior Diamonds. And by collecting an awful lot of data, we were able to transition out of diamonds to gold quite easily when the diamond market collapsed. Dan Rothberg is my corporate secretary based out of Toronto here. Dan specializes in the junior exploration space, and I'm very lucky to have him on board. Shaden Webb, my CFO out of Vancouver, again specializes in the junior exploration space, and again we're very fortunate to have her. Roxanne Gélineau runs my office in Sudbury. As you can tell by the name, both in English and French, and very helpful, obviously, when we're dealing with our partners in Quebec. Myself, of course, on the technical side, I should just mention I'm a quaternary geologist, and I can't tell you how pleased I was to hear a speaker talking about glacial dispersal of things. It's a fantastic exploration medium and one that I really use. Ron Avery, a contract geologist who is really tied into both Croteau and TPK. Don Boucher, who is the former VP Exploration of De Beers Canada, and subsequently joined my company as VP Exploration before going into retirement a few years back. He actually joined Northern Superior Resources because Don and I were going head-to-head with the diamond game at one point in northwestern Ontario, in and around the TPK area. And Don had set up a laboratory in Sudbury and was seeing the gold grain counts that I was seeing from my samples in the area. So when I announced that I was switching Superior Diamonds to Northern Superior Resources to pursue this gold anomaly, Don showed up in my office and offered to quit De Beers and join Northern Superior, which he did. Jonathan O'Callaghan just joined the company as a full-time geologist, and that's an important hint that I'm giving you here in terms of where we're going with the company. Jonathan is an exceptional young geologist, just graduated with his MSc from University of Western Ontario, and has undergone a lot of mentorship over the last 2 years as a contract geologist with myself, Ron, and Don. And then Matt Suley's been with me since 2003 with this company. He's essentially quite a remarkable database manager and obviously well vested in the company as well. I said we are a project generator. One of the things that I insisted upon when I left my government job with this group was that I was able to accumulate a database. And it's now almost a terabyte in size, and we have data that covers all of Canada, some of the northern US states, and even over in Greenland. So we have been able to generate many projects where we've made lots of discoveries with gold showings, etc. But what I'm going to focus on today is a TPK or Tippecanoe project here in northwestern Ontario. I'm just going to touch on Croteau Est over here in Quebec. These are quite valuable properties. Now TPK, when I say TPK to you, I need you to think of the Red Lake Gold District. And I'm not talking to you as a promoter or a president and CNO of a company. I'm talking to you as a geologist. Because what we're seeing there as a fingerprint is district scale in size. Red Lake in size, not once, but twice. And you'll see what I mean shortly. We've already made multiple discoveries on this property, but the reality is it's a large piece of real estate, and I need a significant or a strategic entity to help us move this project forward. And I think we're almost there. Model validation, I can easily compare what I'm about to show you to the Meliadines, Nartok, Meadowbank, Rainy River. What I'm going to show you shortly actually dwarfs most of what these particular projects have shown that's led to remarkable discovery. So where is TPK? It's a remarkable district scale gold, silver, copper opportunity right up here in northwestern Ontario, about 50 kilometers due west of the Ring of Fire. And I only point that out because we are not a Ring of Fire story, but we are only going to benefit from the development that's going to occur with the Ring of Fire. We're 20 kilometers north of the community of Niskananga. We've had a long-standing relationship with that community, and we have an early economic benefits agreement with that community, which has worked extremely well for us over the last several years. All the planning has been done. We've done all the heavy lifting with the First Nation, the exploration, the targeting is done. We just need to drill, and this is where the strategic partner comes into play. Well, why can't you do it on your own? Well, I like to stake big because as an explorer, I like to capture systems. I don't want to muscle into, say, the Timmins camp and try to pick up little squares of property. Ontario and Quebec has such a vast opportunity to find new and exciting discoveries such as TPK and Croteau. So, this is 30 kilometers east-west by 20 north-south. We already have an established camp here, which leads out to all the targets in the Big Dam area, and we have the opportunity to expand this up and into across the property. So the important point to make here is that we can operate year-round on this property. Unlike Norod, for example, over towards the Ring of Fire, that's very swampy ground, and they're restricted in terms of how they can work seasonality. We can work here year-round. The property components go back to an agreement that we had with a company called Rainy River Resources, who spent $10.5 million of the 11 they had to make before earning in. Unfortunately for them and for us, they got taken out by New Gold just before they finished their earning. But we got 100% of the property back. We've kept the names largely to help us manage the size of this property. I'm not going to give you a geology lesson, but the geology is absolutely bang on. Gold, of course, associated with major fault systems and secondary faults feathering off of that. The scenario that we have here with TPK is exactly the same as you see here, for example, in the Larder Lake Cadillac Fault and the Val d'Or Malartic Camp. It's exactly the same, and it's similar to every other major camp in the Archean across North America. In terms of the rocks, again, we're seeing the right rocks, the right chemistry, and the right associated minerals. So we're seeing the iron, we're seeing the magnetite, and all those good things that you need to see with hosting large gold deposits. So what's drawn so much attention to this property? Well, this massive yellow dots that you see here, I'm going to tell you, is a unique geological feature. I have to say the talk I heard just before me is also an exceptional dispersal train. This is, in terms of gold, probably the largest in North America. I mentioned Meliadine before, I mentioned Nartok. This thing dwarfs some of those. Most gold grain and till dispersal trains maybe have a source that's 200 meters wide. This is over 6 kilometers wide here, just in the new growth, in the big dam area of the property. Ice flow from the northeast to southwest. Each one of these dots represents a till sample, and you heard that term earlier today, about 10 kilograms. And we're getting upwards of over 1,200 gold grains, pristine, 90% or better, in most of these samples. If you're lucky to capture anywhere between 15 to 25 gold grains in a sample size, such as that launches exploration programs. So there is obviously something sitting in here which is given up to the ice, if you will, for want of a better term, a lot of gold into the surface environment. 6 kilometers wide. That's why I'm asking you to think in terms of Red Lake and scale. The other thing I want to point out here to you is that this is gold in till, which means the glacier ice, which you heard of earlier, has to be able to get at that target. There must be significant amount of gold exposed at the Earth's surface for the ice to erode, transport, and deposit. So I want you to think, and if you haven't seen these, go to the website, look up Hollinger Mine, and you will find some spectacular photographs of rock that's hosting tremendous amounts of visible gold right on the bedrock surface. That must be happening here in order to allow for the dispersal of so much gold in the surface environment here. Okay? This is spectacular. As I said, I've been in this business for 40 years. I've never seen anything like this, but it gets better. We've done a lot of targeting in here. So without getting into a lot of detail, I'll just refer you to the press release that we put out on this in November. So the targeting's done. We know where we need to go and drill this thing. So this map here, the area I was talking about, Big Dam, is this part of the property here. What we've discovered, though, is that this shear system doesn't extend 6 kilometers, it extends 35 kilometers across this property. We know it's gold bearing because coming off of this, we have all the geochemical fingerprints, gold, arsenic, antimony, but also gold grains coming off of this thing. So you can see this heat map. You can see a lot of arsenic in the till here. Some people will say to me, well, Tom, it's not as intense over this area, but you have to remember the sample density here is much higher than the sample density over in this area here. All right? The only work we've really done over in the new growth area, as we call it, is flying our proprietary airborne geophysics and having a very prominent structural geologist, Greg Stott, do some interpretation for us. We've already got 14 targets picked here that have never been prospected, never been drilled. Now, some of you out there, and I know there's a lot of smart people in this room, have probably noticed this signature up through here. What is that? It just happens to be another gold grain until dispersal corridor. It's only 3.5 kilometers wide. And I say that tongue-in-cheek because I just told you earlier, most of these source areas are about in the order 200 meters wide. So this is another spectacular gold grain dispersal corridor. I didn't mention the boulders that we found over in the Big Dam area. Well, look at some of these spectacular boulder values that we're getting in some of these dispersal trains embedded within this corridor. If you go to Meliodine and look at their 43101 report and compare the assay values that we're getting from our boulders, and these are all on our website in a PowerPoint presentation, and compare them to the Meliodine signature, we blow them away. So lots of opportunity on TPK. All the work is done, the heavy work is done. Very quickly, Croteau. It's different. It's in Quebec. It's in one of the most prolific gold-producing regions on the planet, the Abitibi. All kinds of gold camps. I want to draw your attention here to Osisko and the Windfall. What's different about Croteau is that we are also in a well-established mining camp, the Chibougamau-Chapé camp. Access is amazing. Roads, I can literally buy you breakfast in Tim Hortons and have you on site within 30 minutes with your coffee still hot, open the door, have you walk into a trench where you're seeing thumb-sized flakes of gold in the rock. Okay, it's pretty spectacular in terms of access. Like the project at TPK, we've done our work with the First Nation. We're actually the first junior to sign a pre-development agreement with the Cree. We've already got a resource established on this property, over 640,000 ounces. But also important is that we do know that there's other opportunity across the property. In this camp where you get these northeast-southwest faults cross-cut by these east-west deformation corridors, that's where you find the gold mines in this particular camp. We know that this isn't an academic exercise on this property because that's where our CVSZ or deposit is on one of these. But Trench 101, area number 5, and down in this area where we had one hole that intersected 100 meters of conglomerate that ran. Got one hole into that. So there's all kinds of upside opportunity with this. We weren't happy with that model that was done to produce that 640,000 ounces. So we ended up going back in 2017 to do some additional drilling to really tighten up the model. And we've been able to accomplish that. Really spectacular. Only down to 350 meters. We've got at least 9 high-grade chutes that are gently dipping towards the southeast that have been defined. And I'm really proud of my geologists because every hole they sunk in this in that 2017 program hit exactly what they anticipated and hit gold-bearing rock. If you compare it to Osisko and what they're doing at Windfall, there's the outline of what we've defined. Most of the gold in this, in the Windfall camp and the Chapé-Chibougamau camp is found at depth. We're not even tapping where we think the gold, the higher grade stuff really is. And again, this is in our press release, January, November, 2017, 2018. Just some of the numbers that we were reporting. Continuity is key. We're seeing that. And we know where to search for additional gold. We know where to follow the system to really get a handle on where things are. The plan forward. So this is where I have to be careful with what I say. But we did have a very robust plan that started in 2016. The check marks just simply show you that I hit every single thing that I said I was going to do between 2016 and early 2018. We got hung up right here with a strategic partner because we really need that, as I hope I've tried to emphasize here, to drive these two projects forward. I'm confident you're going to see that this is going to get done, which is going to push the TPK exploration program. We can see some fallout happening that on Croteau, and it will allow us to come and deal with this situation or mess here without getting into detail. Okay? So, to summarize, why invest? We've got great people running the company and the programs. We've got world-class exploration projects with the ability to generate more. You name the commodity that you want, we can do it, but we are focused on gold. And we do have a very robust plan to drive value into the company, as obviously the Richmond Club saw when they asked me to give this presentation today. And I'm really looking forward to getting through this year and into 2019, because I think it's going to be an extremely exciting time for Northern Superior Resources. Thank you very much.
This report brought to you by the Richmond Club, where investors and high-growth companies meet.